If you've ever sat in a blind after sunset and watched everything fade into a black wall of nothing, you know exactly why night vision has become essential hunting gear. A good pair of goggles doesn't just let you see, it lets you stay out later, spot movement you'd otherwise miss, and confirm what's actually out there before you make a move. I dug through the reviews on 6 of the most talked about night vision goggles for hunters this year and ranked them from the ground up. Links to everything are in the description. Let's get into it. Starting the list at number 6, and even at the bottom, this is a genuinely capable piece of gear. The camo edition of the WOW Sports combines a true 10x optical zoom with an 8x digital zoom for up to 80x total magnification, backed by a 7-level adjustable 850 nanometers infrared illuminator that pushes visibility out to roughly 1,315 feet. It records 4K video, ships with a 64 gigabytes card, and carries IPX-rated waterproofing along with a stealth-oriented eyepiece designed to stop screen light from leaking out and giving away your position in the field. The 5,000 mAh battery is rated for up to 20 hours of use, and over 300 buyers picked one up in the past month. Hunters using this pair have had good things to say about its field performance. One reviewer called it durable and noted it delivered better clarity and range than other night vision binoculars they'd tried. Another buyer confirmed it does the job of making the night visible, though he flagged that the faint red glow from the infrared beam could potentially give away your position if you're trying to stay hidden, worth knowing if concealment matters to your setup. A buyer who tested it through heavy rain and fog said the waterproofing held up completely, with no water intrusion at all. Someone else praised the zoom for spotting distant objects and said the infrared handled complete darkness well, calling the whole unit comfortable and easy to use. A hunter who bought it for tracking deer at night described it as working well for keeping tabs on wildlife from a stand. The pushback here mostly focused on comfort during longer outings, with one buyer noting the setup takes some getting used to and can be tricky to move around in. At 51 reviews and a 4.4-star average, it's a solid but relatively unproven option. Number 5 has more than double the review count, a wider feature set for wildlife photography, and a design that reviewers say works just as well in daylight as it does after dark. That daytime flexibility alone makes it worth waiting for. Moving up to number 5, and this is technically the sibling model to the chair we just covered, but it earns its higher spot with a stronger track record and a couple of standout use cases that hunters specifically called out. It shares the same 10x optical plus 8x digital zoom combination for 80x total magnification, the same 7-level 850 nanometers infrared system reaching about 1,315 feet, and 4K video with 48 megapixels photo capture. It adds a tripod mount for stable hands-free glassing and holds a 5,000 mAh battery, good for extended field time, with 400-plus buyers grabbing one in the past month. What separates this model in the reviews is how many hunters described using it as a genuine hybrid tool. One reviewer called it a combination of binoculars, a camera, and an infrared system all in one, explaining that he could zoom in on wildlife, capture the shot instantly, and skip the old routine of switching between binoculars and a separate camera before an animal moved off. Another buyer took it on camping trips and said the infrared easily reached its advertised range, letting him spot movement and detail well past what his eyes alone could pick up, which made nighttime wildlife checks noticeably less stressful. He also pointed out that the unit performs surprisingly well in daylight too, using it as a high-powered binocular to scan trails and watch birds. A third reviewer used it specifically to spot wildlife in dense, bushy forest terrain and said it made a real difference in his overall camping and scouting experience. Not every experience was smooth. One buyer ran into charging problems severe enough that she returned the unit twice before giving up on it entirely. With 130 reviews and a 4.3-star average, this model has proven itself to a meaningfully larger group of buyers than the goggles before it. But number 4 brings a dual-screen design built specifically to reduce eye strain on long sits, plus a headband and helmet mount system that hands-free hunters are going to want to hear about. Number 4 is the Goyojo, and this is where the list shifts toward gear built for extended, hands-free use in the field. It's the first model on this list with a true dual-screen display and adjustable interpupillary distance between 60 and 72 millimeters, which is designed specifically to feel more natural and reduce eye fatigue during long observation sessions. A real consideration if you're planning to wear something for hours in a stand. It runs a 3-watt 850 nanometers infrared illuminator with adjustable brightness, an 8x digital zoom, and up to 1,000 feet of visibility in total darkness. And it can be used handheld with an included headband or mounted to a compatible helmet. Around 50 buyers picked one up in the past month. The hunting relevant feedback here is strong. One reviewer described being genuinely impressed by how quickly the infrared mode brightened areas that were nearly invisible to the naked eye, saying the image stayed sharp enough to clearly assess his surroundings. Another called the low light performance a clear step up from other devices he'd used, describing the clarity as unbelievable for the price point and specifically praising how well it distinguished fine detail. A third buyer used the unit for scanning old buildings without power at a job site and said it performed exactly as needed, even used purely handheld without the mounting hardware. Someone else who's used it repeatedly for hunting and target practice said the picture stayed clear even in pitch black conditions and that it stayed comfortable through extended wear. There was a notable critical review, too, with one buyer detailing frustration over a narrow field of view that made it hard to observe anything close to the edges of the frame, along with confusion over the button layout and a complaint that there's no way to use the infrared sensor without also running the illuminating LEDs, which can be a downside if you're trying to stay fully covert. At 275 reviews and a 3-star rating, the Goyo has built real credibility. Number 3, though, has over 300 more reviews than that, a 4.5-inch screen, and a built-in compass that hunters navigating unfamiliar terrain in the dark are going to appreciate. Number 3 is the coyote, and the jump in review count here reflects a product that's clearly resonating with a broad range of buyers, hunters included. It features a large 4.5-inch display with 10x digital zoom, true 4K capture for both day and night use, 7 adjustable infrared levels, and a 5,000 mAh battery paired with a 32GB memory card. What sets it apart from everything covered so far is the built-in compass and multi-mode LED flashlight, along with glow-in-the-dark buttons that make it usable without fumbling in complete darkness. Over 200 buyers picked one up in the past month. The reviews lean heavily positive, and several buyers specifically tied their experience to hunting and outdoor tracking. One reviewer called it the best value he'd found, saying the image stayed bright and the controls were easy to pick up. Another bought it as a gift and described testing it outdoors in the dark, watching it reveal an area they couldn't see anything in with the naked eye. He noted his family member plans to use it for spotting wildlife and eventually for hunting once the season gets darker earlier. A different buyer used it to keep an eye on his backyard at night and praised the adjustable IR levels and compass function for making it feel like a complete outdoor tool rather than a single-purpose gadget. One reviewer highlighted the reliability of the customer support after a shipping issue, saying the seller resolved it almost instantly. A couple of buyers noted the printed manual uses very small text, and one mentioned it takes a bit of trial and error before the controls feel intuitive. At 363 reviews and a 4.6-star average, the highest star rating of any product on this list, the coyote has earned serious trust. But number 2 nearly doubles that review count, and it's the first head-mounted option on this list that reviewers specifically praised for tracking animals like coyotes at real hunting distances. Number 2 is the Arzunio, and with 519 reviews, it has been tested by a genuinely large number of buyers in real outdoor conditions, many of them specifically hunting-focused. It features a 2.7-inch display, 10x magnification with an 8x digital zoom, 7 adjustable infrared levels reaching about 1,312 feet, and a built-in 3,000 mAh rechargeable battery. It supports both handheld and head-mounted use and is compatible with standard tactical helmet mounts, with over 100 buyers picking one up in the past month. The hunting-specific feedback here is some of the most detailed on this list. One long-form review described the device as reliably hands-free and comfortable enough for extended wear, specifically calling it a strong option for anyone dealing with hand or wrist pain who needs to keep both hands free in the field. Another buyer described using it for hiking at night, courtyard security checks, and wildlife observation, saying the performance stayed stable and impressively clear across every use case. A different hunter said he uses it specifically to track his dogs and spot deer at night on his property, allowing him to check on wildlife without needing a flashlight that would spook the animals or alert his dogs. Another reviewer described being genuinely surprised at how clear the image stayed even from a distance, calling the build lightweight and dependable for night adventures. There was honest pushback too. One buyer noted the device automatically shuts off after 10 minutes and doesn't retain your previous settings, and pointed out that the lowest available zoom is 1.2x, which makes it a poor fit if you're planning to walk around rather than stay stationary. Another buyer said the range topped out around 50 feet in his experience, calling it decent for the price but not as far-reaching as advertised. At 519 reviews and a 4.1-star average, it's the most tested head-mounted option on this list. But number 1 is nearly 3 times that many reviews, the highest star rating outside the coyote, and it currently holds the title of bestseller in its entire category. And once you hear what hunters specifically say about using it for coyote tracking, you'll understand why. Number 1 is the Tuluha, and when a product racks up 1,569 reviews, holds a 4.4-star average, and sits as the number 1 bestseller in night vision binoculars and goggles with over 1,000 units bought in the past month. It's not a coincidence. It's a pattern of hunters and outdoor users getting consistent results and coming back to say so. The Tuluha captures 4K video and high-resolution photos through a 3-inch display with 5x digital zoom and a 25mm multi-coated lens, runs on a 5,000 mAh battery, includes a 32GB memory card, and supports standard tripod mounting for steady, hands-free glassing. The hunting feedback here stands out for its specificity. One buyer took the unit to his ranch specifically to test it and was surprised by how clear and bright the viewfinder was, reporting that rabbits, mice, and people walking all showed up clearly, with larger animals becoming easier to identify the more he used it. He noted it performed far better in natural darkness than anywhere near artificial lighting, and that sitting in a deer blind under a moonlit sky gave him excellent visibility. Another reviewer called the infrared mode strong in complete darkness and praised the long battery life alongside a comfortable, solid build he used repeatedly for wildlife observation. A buyer who bought it as a gift said her father used it to watch dolphins off the coast at night and described the whole experience as genuinely impressive. Another reviewer highlighted the zoom for bringing distant targets into sharp focus and called the overall build quality durable enough to justify the price. There's honest critical feedback too, with one buyer reporting that image quality degraded with noticeable noise and blurring beyond roughly 50 to 60 meters in total darkness, and noting that battery life in infrared mode ran just over 2 hours, making a power bank a near necessity for longer sits. He concluded it suits hunters with modest, short-range needs rather than anyone regularly pushing deep into the wilderness for long-range viewing. Even accounting for that, the sheer weight of consistent, hunting-specific praise across more than 1,500 reviews is what puts the Teluha at the top of this list. It's proven itself across ranches, deer blinds, and backyard wildlife checks alike, and that breadth of real-world testing is hard for any other option on this list to match.